Hello, this is Mrs. Butcher, and this video is all about solving rational equations. So we have spent some time now multiplying, dividing, adding, subtracting, and basically simplifying rational expressions. Now we're going to stick an equal sign in here, and we're going to actually solve for x. So the easiest type is when there's only one fraction on each side of the equation. Whenever you have that, you can just cross multiply. So here we have x over 2x plus 7 equals x minus 5 over x minus 1. Remember, when there's an equal sign, you can just multiply across like this. So we'll go x times x minus 1 equals x minus 5 times 2x plus 7. And then we're going to have to distribute this out. So this is x squared minus x equals 2x squared, and then plus 7x minus 10x minus 35. So since we know this is quadratic, we want to go ahead and set it equal to 0. 0 equals 2x squared minus 1x squared is just x squared. Then I have 7x minus 10x is negative 3x, but then I'm going to add an x, so I have negative 2x. And then we have the minus 35. So then if we factor that, factors of negative 35 that add to negative 2 would be x minus 7 and x plus 5. And so that means that x equals 7 and negative 5. And make sure you always check. You don't have to do it on the paper, but you need to check and make sure that neither of these are going to give you extraneous solutions by making you divide by 0. Just look at your denominators and make sure that they would both be okay. Alright, now if there is more than one fraction on either side of your equation, you can either simplify both sides or each side separately and then cross multiply, just like we just did, or you can multiply the whole equation by the lowest common denominator. And that is the faster way to do it, and that's what I'm going to show you how to do right now. Lowest common denominator of the entire thing, you look here, we have an x, a 5, and a 10. So our lowest common denominator would be 10x, because 5 does go into 10. So if I took the whole thing and multiplied it by 10x, and remember when you're multiplying it's over an imaginary little 1 there, so I'm going to take the whole equation here and multiply it by 10x over 1. Alright, so I'm going to distribute this to every single part of the equation. 10x times 6 would be 60x over x times 1 is x minus 10x times 7x would be 70x squared over 5 times 1 is 5, and then equals, and then 10x times x is 10x squared over 10 times 1 is 10. And then we can simplify, since this LCD, this lowest common denominator, is common to all our fractions should simplify. So 60x over x is just 60. Minus 70x squared over 5 would be 14x squared equals, and then 10x squared over 10 would just be x squared. So I have 60 minus 14x squared equals x squared, and I can solve this equation by combining like terms. So I'm going to add 14x squared to the other side, have 60 equals 15x squared. If I divide 60 by 15, I get 4. 4 equals x squared. And take the square root, x equals plus or minus, do not forget that, the square root of 4, which is plus or minus 2. And then make sure that positive or negative 2, both, would be okay. Neither of those would make our denominator 0, so x equals 2 and negative 2. Both of those answers will make this equation equal. Okay, here's another example. We're going to, instead of trying to simplify just this side, I'm going to take the lowest common denominator of the entire equation. So this factors to 2 times x plus 4. So I know that x plus 4 and 1 and 2 and x plus 4, my lowest common denominator is 2 and x plus 4. That's what I'm going to multiply everything by. So 2x plus 4 over 1 times every piece of the equation. All right, So when I do the first fraction times this one, I get 2 times 2 is 4. And I have x plus 7. I'm not going to multiply this out right now. And x plus 4. And then I have x plus 4 times 1, so over x plus 4. Then I have minus, and then I'm going to multiply this all by the 2, so 4 times x plus 4 over 1 times 1 is 1 equals, and then multiply these two. I'll have 2 times x plus 4 times 2x plus 20 over, and then remember this bottom was 2x plus 8, but that's the same thing as 2 times x plus 4, so I'll go ahead and put it like that. Alright, now we can cancel things out. So these will go, that's over 1, and then these will go, and I have 4 times x plus 7 minus 4 times x plus 4 equals 2x plus 20. And of course, if we distribute, we get 4x plus 28 minus 4x minus 16 equals 2x plus 20. And when we combine like terms, these 4x's go away. 28 minus 16 is 12. 12 equals 2x plus 20. 12 minus 2x would be, 12 minus 20 would be negative 8 equals 2x. Divide that by 2, you're going to get x equals negative 4. But I put a little note up here, be sure to check for extraneous solutions. When I look at the original problem, if I put a negative 4 right here for x, negative 4 plus 4 is 0, and you can't divide by 0. So that's an extraneous solution, and we have no others to check, so this final answer is actually no solution. And now here's my favorite type, complex fractions. So we've got fractions in fractions. And the way to do this is you want to simplify first. So simplify the top to just one fraction, simplify the bottom to just one fraction, and then we can solve. Alright, so we've got 2 over x plus 2. I'll change colors. 2 over x plus 2. And then it's divided by, and then we've got 1 over x plus 2 plus 2 over x equals 2. Alright, so I'm going to simplify this part right here. I'm going to put these together. Remember, when you add fractions, you need a common denominator. So I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom of this by x, x, and I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom of this by x plus 2, x plus 2. So now I have 2 over x plus 2 divided by, and then I have x plus 2 times x plus 2 all over xx plus 2, because I can add these together since these denominators are common, and then we'll say equals 2. Now I know some of you are looking at this and you're itching to cross that out right there. Here, I'll use the highlighter. You're itching to cross that out. I know you are. But remember, kittens die when you do that, so you can't, because there's a little plus right there. And that keeps you from being able to cross things out here. What we have to do here is make this 2 over x plus 2. And then let's go ahead and do our flipping and multiplying. So now on the top we'll have x times x plus 2. And on the bottom, this is x plus 2x plus 4, so that's 3x plus 4 equals 2. And we're multiplying, so we could cross out, remember on this side, the x plus 2's can go, and you've got 2x over 3x plus 4 equals 2. Now we've gotten it down to the point where we can cross multiply, because that's over 1. So you have 2x equals 6x plus 8. And if we subtract 6x from 2x, we have negative 4x equals 8. And if we divide by negative 4, we get x equals negative 2. Whew. Now, most of the time, that's fine and you're done, but you must always look back at the original problem. And if I put a negative 2 right here, negative 2 plus 2 is 0. That makes you divide by 0 here. It also makes you divide by 0 here. So at any point, if you have to divide by 0, you can't. And you can just cancel that one out. It's gone. And this one is also no solution. And let me remind you, like on a test, if you have a problem like this, you can't just write no solution and hope you get lucky. Just because we've had 2 in the notes. You must show your work, show me that you got x equals negative 2, and then show me that you crossed it out and determined that it was extraneous, if you want full credit. And my last example is of a word problem. This one says, the recommended mix for car coolant is 50% antifreeze and 50% water. If you have a 7-liter mixture that is 40% antifreeze, how much antifreeze should you add to bring it up to the recommended level? Now, you're like, okay, well, I bring up 10%, so you'd add 10% of 7, right? Only then you don't have a 7-liter mixture anymore. You have a 7.7-liter mixture, and that's not going to be 50% anymore. So what you want to do is set this up saying, okay, I know the percent of antifreeze. Sorry about the handwriting. My stylus is getting kind of worn out. Equals, and percent is always part over whole, so that's going to be the amount of antifreeze on top divided by the total amount of solution on the bottom. So let's let x be the amount of antifreeze that we're going to add. I want 50%, so 50 out of 100 equals. Now I had 40% of 7 liters, 0.4 times 7. That's how much antifreeze was in there. And I'm going to add some, right? So plus x. Divided by, and then my total amount of solution, it was 7 liters, but however much antifreeze I add adds to the total volume as well. So plus x on the bottom there as well. So now what we've got is rational equation. We've got a numerator and a denominator, fraction on each side, and then you can just cross multiply. So we've got 50 times 7 plus x would be 350 plus 50x equals, and 0.4 times 7 is 0.28 times 100 is 280. So 280 plus 100x, sorry, 0.4 times 7 is 2.8, and then times 100 is 2. Anyway, let's combine like terms. If I subtract 280 from 350, I get 70. If I subtract 50 from 100, I get 50. 70 equals 50x. Divide by 50. X is 7 over 5. And you wouldn't say, oh, I'm going to add 7/5 of a liter. You're going to tell me that's 1.4 liters to add. And if your teacher is making you write it in a complete sentence, you would say, you must add 1.4 liters of antifreeze in order to bring this up to 50%. Okay. All right, so here's a challenge problem for you. I'm going to just give you this problem. I want you guys to work on this tonight, and then tomorrow when you come into class, I want to see the work for this. I want to see, I know it's ugly and it's hard, but it's just one problem I'm giving you, and I want to see this tomorrow when you come into class, and I think Miss Irwin wants to see it too. All right, you guys have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow.